All right, what's up, fellas? Peyton Chatagnier joining me. We're getting ready for weekend 4 of SEC baseball. What's up, Peyton? How we doing today?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. I saw a tweet just the other day. Somebody tweeted out we are officially halfway through the baseball season, which is crazy to think about. We are already halfway through this thing, but a lot of good SEC games still coming up, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. And every weekend in this league, you always just have headliner matchups because the depth of the league is so staggering. And before we get to that, I just want to make some observations on the standings because the standings are wild right now. And really, the story is who's at the bottom. I mean, you would before the year, Texas A&M preseason number 1, they're 1-8 in the SEC, and they got to go to Knoxville, Tennessee this weekend. They still got to go to Texas. They still play LSU. They have three. They got to go to Georgia too. They have 3 series left against top 5 teams, and they're 1-8. I mean, they would be a long shot to make the NCAA tournament at this point, which is crazy. I don't know if a preseason number 1's never ever not made the tournament.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, you got to think it's A&M, Florida, and
Mississippi
you can
State.
put Mississippi State, and you can put in Kentucky. All teams that were supposed to be or were pretty solid last year, besides maybe State, ended up making a run. Not too bad last year, but who've kind of just fallen off. I guess you could put maybe Kentucky as not fallen off, but it's just weird, man. And we say it over and over and over again, but this is what happens in the SEC.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And like the Florida Gators were preseason number 7. They're 1-8 right now. It's just wild when you look at the standings and you see these kind of schools that you thought would be powers with these records. But thing with baseball, so much of it's about getting hot late in the year and getting momentum into the tournament. So as bad as it looks, it's not over yet. And then you look at the top of the league right now. I mean, no surprise, Tennessee. I mean, everybody knew they'd be good. They're defending national champion. There was some thought like, hey, maybe they fall off to like 5 or 6 in the country. That has not happened. They're 29-2, 8-1 in the SEC, and they're hosting Texas A&M this weekend. And this thing's in Knoxville. I mean, Tennessee should dominate the series. If you're A&M, you have to get one because you can't be 1-11, right?
Yeah. I don't know if anybody's stopping Tennessee right now. They look unbelievably good, and it's impressive how good they've been for the past couple of years now. Love them or hate them, Vitello's got something going, and I don't know who's going to stop this Tennessee team.
I agree. And then Liam Doyle, the Ole Miss transfer, I think in like 36.1 innings, he has 73 strikeouts. Like, I mean, who averages 2 strikeouts an inning? That's the damnedest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's been an ace, but then they only returned 2 position players, and Hunter Inslee and Dean Curley that started last year. Yet the lineup hadn't taken a step back. Gavin Killen, their second baseman's knocking the cover off the ball. Andrew Fisher, the Ole Miss transfer, power hitter, has been great. But it's just, I mean, that thing's a machine, and it kind of is hard to see. I mean, do you think A&M can they get a game this weekend?
I hope they do. I mean, I hope they do just for their sake. It's looked real rough for them, and I don't even know what exactly the issue is. Obviously, they're not playing well, and everybody's going to say there's a new coach. Got to give them time. It's so strange. I hope they can get one. I really do. Do I think they can? I do think they can. So hopefully they do.
Yeah, they need to. Well, the Friday night matchup of Prager and Doyle. Ron Prager's still one of the best pitchers in the SEC from A&M. One bit of hope is Jay Schlavel had a slow start to the year, but he's been knocking the cover off the ball lately. Yeah. So, maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel there. But it's one thing to be 1-8, but it's another thing to be 1-8 when you have 3 series against top 5 teams.
That's where, like, if I was A&M, I might push Prager back like a day or maybe even Sunday, as crazy as that would sound, just win a game, like, all right, we're going to have to just somehow figure out a way to win Friday. And then if we push Prager back to Saturday and he wins that game, then boom, now it's looking a lot better. I don't know. You got to change something up.
Yeah, for sure. This is a rematch of the National Championship Series last year, too.
Yeah.
Tennessee won, and it's just crazy to see, here we are, 9-10 months later, where with how hard it's fallen for A&M, while Tennessee still doing their thing. A couple of series start on Thursday, Ole Miss and Kentucky. I don't think this game's going to get played tonight because there's just horrible rain and weather in Kentucky today. But Ole Miss, up to number 9 in the D1 baseball polls. 22-6, 6-3 in the SEC, coming off winning 2 out of 3 at home against Florida. Kentucky's, we kind of both said we thought they'd take a step back when they were the number 2 national seed last year, but they're still 4-5 in the SEC. Looking like a 2 seed if the NCAA tourney was to start today. So it hadn't been like too big of a fall. On this series, I mean, anytime Hunter Elliott starts, I feel good about Ole Miss. But the key is, can they win 2 out of 3 here on the road?
What's kind of been a little bit surprising is like Maddox hasn't pitched the best he's capable of pitching, but Ole Miss has found a way to win on Saturdays, which is huge. Obviously, Fridays have looked really, really good, and even Hunter's start last week, I think he gave up 3 runs, which isn't crazy, but that's not necessarily something that would be good for him. I feel good about this team, and I know we were both already high on them, probably a little bit biased, but now everybody's kind of getting to see it. But what I do kind of like about it is they're still flying under the radar. Like, not everybody's talking about the Ole Miss team that nobody thought was going to be good this year. Like, I like that part that, hey, let's just fly under the radar all the way into that into the postseason.
Yeah, I'll say the thing about the Ole Miss thing, before the year when we were analyzing it, we thought the pitching staff was going to be the strength, and maybe they're going to have to find some runs. And it's kind of, obviously Hunter Elliott's been awesome, and he's 5-0, and they've won every game he's pitched. But the hitting is really, Ryan Mormon, the transfer from Illinois, has been huge. Mitchell Sanford, the right fielder, has been knocking the cover off the ball. And, Judd Utermark is having the year that everybody thought he was capable of. But the lineup, the bats have been better than expected, and they still searching a little bit on some of the pitching. And so it's, we thought they'd have a good bounce back year, but it's kind of, the lineup's been a little better than expected.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. But that's good. I think that's great because once the pitching really clicks, now it's watch out.
Yeah, it's Ole Miss at Kentucky, Tennessee at home, at South Carolina, next 3 series. So, it's kind of when you look at this weekend, I mean, we'd like to win 2 out of 3. If you win 1 out of 3, it's not the end of the world. But, I think trying to win a series on the road would be the goal. The other series that starts Thursday is a fascinating one in Norman, Oklahoma. A lot of people are asking how would Oklahoma transfer to the SEC, but they were 23-7 in the Big 12 last year. But so far, so good. They're up to number 10 in the country. They're 5-4 in the league, and they've got the Witherspoon brothers, 2 really good starting pitchers. LSU, for the most part, has been as advertised. They did lose 2 out of 3 at Texas. But, man, I feel like this should be a hell of a series, especially the first 2 days with LSU, Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson pitching against the Witherspoon brothers. How do you see this going down?
Yeah, I do think LSU takes this one. I think the Witherspoon brothers are really, really good. I think LSU's offense is kind of slept on. I think they put up like 17 last Sunday or something like that. Like, they're capable of still mashing the baseball. Everybody talks about Tennessee, and obviously Tennessee has better numbers. But overall, I think this LSU team can mash just as much as any other team. So I'm going to take LSU on this one.
Yeah, when you look at that LSU lineup, the Utah Valley second baseman transfer, Dustin Dickerson's just been, man, what a find he's been. He's hitting like 366. Bear Jones is hitting 400 with 10 bombs, having the year that we kind of all thought he could have.
He was your SEC Player of the Year?
Preseason, but we'll get to some guys that may have passed here in a minute. But yeah, the lineup looks really good, and I mean, I feel like that maybe it was for the best for them to lose that series at Texas. Maybe they needed to get humbled a little bit, but they bounced back. They swept Mississippi State at Alex Box last weekend. They're 7-2, so you got to feel good about LSU. But that should be a really fun series to follow. Some other series we're looking at this weekend. Vanderbilt's number 23, but they're 4-5 in the SEC. They're on the road against the 1-8 Florida Gators in the league, and man, this is a spot where if you're 40, you got to win 2 out of 3 here at home. I mean, you literally have to
win. You have to win the rest, every single series from now on. It's your only chance at this point.
Yeah, well, like last year, I remember they had an up and down year, and they got the last bid to the NCAA tourney, and then they got hot. But they had Caglione last year, made that run into Omaha. But right now, I don't know. It's just wild to see them off to such a bad start, but. They got swept by Georgia at home. They lost 2 out of 3 at Ole Miss. I mean, both those teams are good, but that's not really an excuse in this league where everybody's good.
No. If you're looking for a bad team in the SEC, you're in a world of hurt. I don't know what's going on the floor either. I don't know. But
yeah, I don't either.
But also, I mean, I think Vanderbilt I mean, they're okay. They're kind of on the struggle wagon as well. Like there's nothing too pretty about Vanderbilt either. So we'll see on this
Yeah,
series.
I kind of think Florida gets 2 out of 3 here.
That'd be
I
cool
just
if they did. Now it's at Florida, right?
yeah, it's at Florida.
Yeah. Then let's take Florida on that one. Yeah.
You got a battle of struggling 1-8 SEC teams. South Carolina in Paul Maneri's first year on the road at Duty Noble and Starkville. Man, if Mississippi State's going to turn it up, you got to win 2 out of 3 here, but you really need to sweep to get to 4-8. Not totally shocked South Carolina's struggling. I mean, Ethan Petrie is still awesome, but this team kind of had more questions than answers going in. I mean, I thought they'd be a little better than this, but not necessarily a surprise. The State thing, I mean, you and I both weren't that high on them going into this year, despite them having a bounce back year. But I still didn't see 1-8 coming.
Yeah, not this bad. I mean, as much as I would have liked to have joked and said I thought they were, I did not actually think this team was going to be as off to as bad of a start as they are. I've heard I don't think South Carolina takes this series, but I do hope that Maneri can eventually turn that team around. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, it would be a fun story. I got State winning 2 out of 3 here.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, there's a lot of pressure on State this weekend. I mean, you need a sweep, but anytime you win an SEC series, you can't be mad. It's like you talk about all the time how hard it is to sweep people. So
the good thing about this year is everybody's making the SEC tournament, so they're still live, I guess. Even if you can just find a way to be 500 going into the SEC tournament, make a big run, that can still obviously help you out a ton. So it's not like anybody's really dead yet.
Yeah, well, except for Missouri at 0-9, they're. I feel like Missouri. It reminds me of like the Premier League and England, European soccer, where you relegate the last place team. Missouri seems like that. All right, big series on the Plains at Auburn. Man, Alabama at Auburn. Bama's been probably the surprise team of the league. They're up to number 8. Led by Justin LeBron, who we interviewed, who's in 342 with double-digit bombs, an All-American shortstop. But Auburn's having a solid year so far, too. And they fell off a cliff last year. A lot of people thought they could have a bounce-back year. They're 4-5 in the SEC. This ought to be a really, Iron Bowl baseball. Should be a great matchup in series. I think this thing's going to be hotly contested and kind of going to be back and forth all weekend long. I think you're going to look out for the overs in this series. I think both teams can kind of score a lot of runs. So I'm going to be looking at that from a gambling perspective on DraftKings. But how do you think this thing goes?
I'm going to say Alabama takes this one. I hope they do. Auburn has shocked a couple people, and I think they're a solid team. But I do think Alabama, they played well. Like you watched that first series against Tennessee. I thought they looked like a really, really good baseball team that was very close to like just clicking and everything going for them. I think Alabama takes this one.
Yeah, they put the SEC. They started out the year so hot, but when they swept A&M at A&M that first weekend, I was like, oh man, this is no joke. And they've been able to carry that momentum forward, and it seems like they're really building something there in Tuscaloosa. We got 2 more SEC series to cover. Not a whole lot to say about Missouri going to Arkansas. Arkansas is already 8-1 in the league, and man, I mean, year in, year out. But they've really kind of clicking though. Zach Ruth, the East Carolina transfer, stud starter for them. But the thing with Arkansas, there were a lot of questions on the way they'd hit the ball going the year, and that has not been a problem. How do you pronounce the name of the brothers? They're so good. Aloy. Aloy.
He was Aloy and another one. I'm not sure.
They're both from. I think they're from Hawaii, I believe.
Yeah, and they both.
Those guys are knocking the crap out of the ball. And then they've got a sophomore left fielder that's hitting over 400, just going crazy too. And so, they've really found something with their bats. And so that's kind of, propelled them maybe to be even better than I thought they were going to be.
We knew their pitching staff was going to be really, really good, and they have been. But to have both sides, this team is scary. It really is. I would put them I'd probably go Tennessee 1 and then Arkansas 2. That would be my own rankings.
And then the teams that you'd put right behind them are battling in Austin, Texas. And hand up when I'm wrong. So much for the fall of the Georgia Bulldogs. Wes Johnson. Yeah, so Wes Johnson, his second year, he was the LSU pitching coach for Paul Skeens when they won the title. He was Minnesota Twins pitching coach for that. Man, he got them to they hosted a super regional or national seed last year, lost to NC State, but thought they might take a step back this year. That has not happened, and this team is knocking the freaking just cover off the baseball. They got 3 guys. Slade Alford was hyped up as an All-American coming in, but they got 2 other guys that are literally the Robbie Burnett being one of them, and then Zoborowski, I believe is his last name.
Yeah.
The DH. Man, these guys are like, I'm looking at their stats. I mean, it's freaking crazy. They're the 2 leaders in the SEC in home runs. Zoborowski's hitting like 448. I mean, this lineup has been, maybe the best in the SEC, and they're just beating the hell out of everybody. They swept Florida. Their only SEC loss, they lost 1 game to Kentucky. They're 29-2.
Yeah,
what?
They're really good, and I know this sounds crazy, but I think they should be ranked 3rd right now. Like I don't think they should be 1st in the SEC. I know that's nuts to say, but I just think they're not quite there. But obviously they're really, really good.
Yeah, Rylan Zoborowski is his name. Hitting 448 he's got 14 homers and 48 RBIs, and then not to be outdone, right behind him, Robbie Burnett's crushing too. It's incredible to me what's going on with that lineup. And how many runs they're scoring. But we're going to find out about them this weekend in Texas because, you really can see the value of how good of a coach Schloss is, what's happened at A&M without him. And, Texas this year was preseason top 20. People thought they'd be good, but they're number 5 right now. They won 2 out of 3 against LSU. They got 2 really good starting pitchers, and they have a pretty key injury to the Max Bellew thing. Hopefully he can come back for postseason. But, man, they've really impressive first year so far for Coach Schloss. And this is a series I'm watching so close because I'm really curious to see what happens.
Yeah, I think so too. And Schloss has done such a great job at Texas. I thought Texas was good last year, even before he got there. Obviously, Schloss is only going to make him better. I still think Georgia takes this. I think they're just a way better team.
Well, that's going to be one I'm watching. Texas with Spencer, the lefty, throwing Friday, and then Rojas is the number 2 guy, has really stepped up and been good so far. But great weekend to SEC baseball ahead. We're going to keep the SEC baseball previews coming. Final Four and all that finally ends this week. We've just been balls deep in this March Madness stuff up here at Barstool. Sure. But man, it's going to be a sprint to the finish. From now, the half of the season's gone. But man, can't wait to watch some SEC baseball this weekend. That's for damn sure.
Absolutely fired up. I mean, obviously there's some good basketball games going to be coming on here too, but once we get past that, it's all baseball, baby.
Yeah, we only got 3 of them left though, man, but they should be good. Auburn, Florida, and Duke, Houston this weekend, Final Four. Barstool, the live show at River Ice House in San Antonio, Friday 6 p.m. and Saturday at 2 as well. So if you're down there for the Final Four, check it out. I will be in the gambling cave watching the Final Four up here Saturday night and Monday, and I'm gonna definitely watch the college baseball this weekend. Going to be keeping a real close eye on Georgia, Texas, and LSU, Oklahoma, and Ole Miss, Kentucky specifically.
Yeah, sounds good.
Hell yeah. Peyton Shot and Yang. Me, that's your SEC baseball preview for Week 4. And give Peyton a follow on social media on Twitter as well. All right, thank y'all.